February is done. Alafu sasa tuanze neno ya March.
I tell you. How hot is the coffee where you are? My name is Freddy Ndimule. Karibu sana.
I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyeringita. It's a Friday. Some Friday vibes coming along your way. Right now it's all 6 a.m. So all the way until 10 a.m. Expect some good vibes right here.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
A quick look at the dailies this morning, and we start off with the Standard. Raila, why I want to be Africa CEO. That's a headline on the Standard today. On the People Daily, what Raila fight for AU job means. Raila Ruto AU pact, jitters rock Azimio. It's all about AU. Kweli natafuta kazi. Habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. And power struggle rocks counties, at least something different from the Daily Nation today. Those are the headlines this morning. Let's take a look at, one more. Yes, panic, dollar trades, and dramatic day for Kenya shilling. The much talked about shilling rally against the US dollar. Let's take a look at the traffic.
Business Daily seems to be steering away from the AU.
There was no business there.
We'll be telling you more about the AU and all about that. But if you're using, or rather you're waking up just about now and you want to go all the way to town, and you'll be using Thika Road just before you hit Allsops, that DCI headquarters, GSU headquarters rather. There's a slight traffic snarl up just there. Probably want to use alternatives, or just wake up early and actually miss this particular traffic snarl up as you also head into Thika Road. Quite a number of traffic snarl ups, but then it will be easing as you get into the CBD. Let's take a look at the weather, and today I'm taking a look at Nakuru County.
Oh yeah.
14 degrees Celsius.
My home county.
14 degrees. We should go there one day.
Yeah, very beautiful town. Very beautiful city, I must add.
I've been there once or twice. Yes.
I've been there all my life.
14 degrees Celsius in Nakuru. If you're there, it promises to get as hot as 31 degrees Celsius into the Google weather. That is the weather for you this morning. Let's take a look at the highlights. And interestingly, 60 plus hours, Rose Tata is still doing it.
Oh yes, and that is our top highlight this morning. Kenyan science teacher Rose Tata Wekesa breaks the world record for the longest non-stop science lesson, going beyond the 50 hours target, awaiting verification by Guinness World Records, and she's still going strong.
And she actually wants to get it into the 66th hour. Whatever you're seeing right now, those are earlier pictures of the YouTube live stream. The students just trying to actually stay strong for the longest physics, chemistry, and biology class. But away from that,
President Ruto to wrap up 3-day tour of Mount Kenya region today with a visit to Gatundu South constituency in Kiambu, where he is set to commission the Rwanda irrigation project. And cautious excitement as the Kenya shilling continues to perform tremendously against the world's major currencies. They say if you have dollars anywhere, time to sell is now. You never know what will happen. Let's take a look at the day's diary.
It's a dramatic one. Let's flip our diary with you, viewer. And first off, that our second highlight, the Mount Kenya tour by President William Ruto will be coming to an end today when he'll be commissioning the Changachicha irrigation project in Othaya County, Nyeri County, before landing in Kiambu, commissioning the Rwanda irrigation project. In today in quotes, the second page of our diary, former account manager Laikipia East National Government Constituency Fund is expected to appear before the Anti-Corruption Court in Nanyuki for the mention of a case where he's charged with conspiracy to commit an offense of corruption and financial misconduct. And from that, the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynecological Society will today be wrapping up its 48th annual scientific congress that has been themed Reimagining Reproductive and Mental Health for UHC. And actually, speaking about matters health, do expect, before we even cross over to our next highlight, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua will today be in Karen, matters the community health promoters, and do expect that at around 3 p.m. today. But then, so that is the news diary for you as we flip that page. That is what to expect in Kenya. In Uganda, Ugandans will today mark the Jonan Luwum Day in honor of the former Church of Uganda Archbishop who was killed during the then President Idi Amin's reign on a day like today in 1977. That is Ugandans' sort of public holiday, somewhat. And that also cues us to Today in History. And Today in History takes us all the way to Nigeria, Fred.
Yes, Today in History. 2015 is the year we're talking about. And yes, a day like today, back in 2015, more than 160 people suspected of having links to Boko Haram were arrested in Niger's border area with Nigeria, which was attacked by the Islamist group. All right.
Big shout out, by the way, to the graphics guys.
They did a good job.
Ooh.
Jamaliji outdo.
You can always dance to that tune, by the way.
We start off with a standard this morning. Raila, why I want to be Africa CEO. Raila Odinga, the master of Kenya's politics, is going for the top continental job. And in a twist of irony, he will require the backing of his fiercest critic, President Ruto, to actualize it. Yesterday, Olusegun Obasanjo met with Ruto after a surprise announcement. This is the biggest talking point. It's been extensively covered on pages 4 and 5 of the Standard. Some quotes here. One from former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo. I have no doubt that my friend who's standing next to me is the right person to take over the mantle. If the EAC region backs him, I believe the rest of the continent will support him. Then Macharia Munene, who's a professor of history and international relations, says the government is interested in sending him out there in the assumption he will stop being a rallying point for troublemakers. Ruto will work hard to get the Africa Union to accept him. And you know, it's I think it's a very convenient job for everyone because Raila will be comfortable with such a job, crisscrossing the continent, yes. And President Ruto will definitely be much more at ease with Raila not around the country.
But curiously, though, I'm interested to see how the Azimio collision and even ODM will really pan out to be.
Now that's the biggest issue.
Yes.
How will these people, the politicians, especially within ODA,
yes,
even
survive.
ODM party itself,
yes.
Will it survive?
Yes.
Anyway.
If the head is going out there.
Well, they've always said that ODM is Raila and Raila is ODM. You have to wait and see. Other highlights on the front page. Fresh hope as Shilling rebounds. The Kenyan currency hit a new high against the dollar after the Treasury booked billions from investors to pay off $2 billion Euro bond. News of transition. Judge who tried to save Kenya. The man who proposed a cure for the senseless tribal violence that plagued Kenya at the advent of multipartyism in 1991 has exited the scene. Akilano Molade Akiwume's distinguished career saw him serve for 14 years on the Kenyan bench. And Akilano Akiwume, Justice Akiwume's name used to be one of those household names back in the 90s as a top judge in Kenya. To the top strip of the Standard now, more highlights there. Threats to roses as changing climate wilts love symbol. Okay, it's still the week of love, Nyaringita's favorite. So yes, threat to roses as changing climate wilts love symbol. Matters business, KQ resumes flights to Mogadishu. And In sports, tributes as Rono exit the stage. And we flip over matters European football. Why Hurricane hardly scares rivals anymore. Hurricanes a shadow as German giants fall to Champions League defeat. Kane is Munich's top scorer this season, but shot blanks against Lazio. Elsewhere, Man United are the most expensive team in 2023. Oh, how sad. If your players include Andre Onana. Man United are the most expensive team in 2023. It's pretty sad, very sad that he did not translate into any goodies on the pitch.
Are you hoping as Arsenal to actually win this time around?
We're not talking about Arsenal. It's Man United that's actually on the headline.
Not that you're attacking me. It's fair to ask.
You felt attacked.
as I represent all Man United fans out here.
All right, that's a standard today.
And speaking of power struggles, it is rocking. The Daily Nation power struggle rocks continues, and they call it the war within. Impeachment motions have been turned into weapons to settle scores. And on page 7, you'll get more of this. And they say the acrimony that has characterized the president's tour of Kiambu, where warring political factions have disrupted meetings, highlights the escalating supremacy wars between governors and other leaders. Now, grievances about dishonored pre-election pacts and 2027 succession politics have showed the discord among ouster threats. And they have pictured governors as well as deputy governors from Kisii, Meru, Kajiado, Uasin Gishu, Nakuru, Kakamega, Siaya, Nairobi, Bomet, Mombasa, Machakos, and Kiambu. For Nairobi, they are picturing the governor as well as the senator. For Kiambu, it's the governor as well as the Kikuyu member of parliament, as well as majority leader in the National Assembly. The highlights on the right, while the shilling is gaining ground, more is on the back page. We'll be giving you more details on that for the back page. Another highlight that was our main highlight for today, picturing there Rose Tata Wekesa with a clock at 50 hours. That was yesterday. Today clocking about 60 hours plus. As they say, teacher targets to break record for the longest class. Oof. Can you imagine being awake all those hours?
They're still going strong.
They're still
heading
doing
towards 60 hours by now.
Yes, and they're targeting 66 hours.
66 hours without sleep.
Without sleep.
Wow.
And you're just focusing on physics, chemistry, and biology.
It's quite something. I really do hope that Guinness World Records verify and confirm that record.
Oh, yes. A final highlight on the front page of the Daily Nation that has been reflected on most papers and most Kenyan papers this morning, how AU bid affects Raila's political game. They say opposition leader Raila Odinga's acknowledgement of his quest for chairperson of the African Union Commission triggered debate about the future of his political career and particularly the 2027 presidential election. Now, given backing of the Kenyan government is crucial to his campaign, the suggestions, should he back the position, it could slow his local political operations, especially anti-government moves. They have that on pages 4 and 5. As we flip the back page, some key numbers to take a look at on this paper. 4.7%, the drop on the CBK's official closing rate of 153.20 cash shillings per dollar on Wednesday, and 139, that is the value of $1 in some commercial banks as at yesterday morning. Another highlight on the very top, Henry Rono, who passed on yesterday, remembered as one of the greatest distance runners the country has ever produced. What a week, losing great athletes.
Oh, yeah. That's the Daily Nation.
Oh, yes. You taken a look at the Standard, and
yes.
Kama kawaida, I forgot to flip to the Pulse.
Sterling Nyaringita, young blood.
They're calling it House of Lies. I'm curious what's the whole House of Lies there. We'll be getting into that at around later on when we get into the trends of the gang.
Now, the Business Daily today goes with one of the biggest talking points over the last few days, and that's the shilling's performance against world major currencies. The big headline there, panic dollar trades and dramatic day for Kenya's shilling. Firm CBK hand seen in the forex market, shilling at its strongest in 7 months. And it continues raising eyebrows. The shilling's performance, a very strong rally against the US dollar and other top currencies across the globe. The People Daily, Business Daily has also gone with a photo of a peaceful protest by lawyers in Nakuru town yesterday to demand compliance with court orders, especially with regard to that dispute over the ownership and control of the War Memorial Hospital. That photo is there. It does not feature on any other daily. More highlights on the ticker. Business Daily, front page, win for Kenyan tea as Tanzania lifts ban. Elsewhere, state plans new hospitals audit ahead of SHIF deductions. And KMRC allows more top earners to access affordable mortgages. And that's the Business Daily.
From the Business Daily to the Star, kweli natafuta kazi. Si maoni yangu hayo, Taifa Leo. Nimesema nini?
Umesema the Star.
I think I had the Star in my head. But kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo, kweli natafuta kazi. Au si maoni yangu, maoni ya Raila Odinga. Raila atahitaji kuungwa mkono na serikali ya Kenya na kutumia mtandao wa marafikize barani kukalia kiti. Nasema hatimaye kiongozi wa Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Raila Odinga amekiri kuwa anasaka wadhifa wa mwenyekiti wa tume ya Umoja wa Afrika AUC. Hatua hii ni ya kwanza kuelekea kustaafu kwake kutoka siasa za Kenya kwa kuwa afisi zake zitakuwa pale Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Vidokezo vingine pale chini, vidokezo vitatu. Ya kwanza, mjukuu wa Moi ataka DNA ifanywe. Nasema ataka uchunguzi wa DNA ufanywe kwa watoto wote wanaotaka kunufaika na mali ya babake. Kwingineko, mahakama yatatua zogo la Keroka, koti yatumia NLC. NLC ni National Land Commission. Masorovea. Surveyors.
Sorovea.
I'm learning that today, by the way. Did you know surveyors are called Masorovea?
I've heard about it. I've never used it though.
I think we can use it carelessly today.
Okay.
Nimeona Masorovea leo.
Umepitana na Masorovea pale.
Ukweli. Ninajua Msorovea mmoja. Masorovea kuamua mpaka wa mji Keroka unaozozaniwa. Kwenye ukurasa wa pili, masuala ya kitaifa na usalama, serikali DRC yakabiliana na waasi M23. Mapigano makali kati ya jeshi na waasi wa M23 ya Chacha, Kivu Kaskazini. Mengi katika ukurasa wa 8. Tuelekee pale juu, masuala mengine kwenye ukurasa wa 4. Utapata mengi hapo. Oduor, daktari mpasuaji maiti kwa miaka 16. Daktari adokeza amepasua maelfu ya miili kwa miaka 16 amehudumu. There's a time I was reading about Oduor. They're saying he never has nightmares. Never has nightmares about.
After 16 years, I don't think he even dreams.
I'd love to read his memo one day.
He should write a book.
He should write a book. I'd sit down and just read his memoir.
Yeah.
Masuala ya michezo, Bayani pigo baada ya pigo. Munich wazidi kutapatapa msimu huu baada ya kulazwa 1-0. Hiyo ni gazeti la Taifa Leo.
Tuangazie gazeti la People Daily sasa. And the big news on the front page of the People Daily, what Trailer fight for AU job means. Azimio chief declares interest in seat, which if successful, could lock former premier out of 2027 polls, elevate him to club of statesmen, but strengthen Ruto re-election chances. Yes, that is what everyone is discussing locally. Still on the front page of the People Daily, why Mount Kenya is angry and hungry. And a picture there of President William Ruto addressing residents of Kandara in Murang'a County after he launched the construction of a 220-unit Mackenzie affordable housing project yesterday. Yes, the president is wrapping up his 3-day tour of the Mount Kenya region today with a visit to Kiambu, as we had highlighted in the highlights earlier on. Elsewhere, U.S. probes death of officer in Haiti mission. That's the other highlight on the front page, and those are the only stories that could find space on the front page of the People Daily today.
All right, let's see which stories have found space on the Star. And first off, obviously, the big story everybody's talking about, the Raila Ruto AU Pact and Jita's Rock Azimio, as you are earlier alluding to. So the ex-Prime Minister would exit local politics if elected AUC chairman, giving Ruto a field day in 2027. We have that for you on pages 4 and 5. And kama kawaida for the Star, having contrasting photos on the mid page. On the left, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and the former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo and President William Ruto in Murang'a on Thursday, that is yesterday. And on the right, a photo of Obasanjo and ODM leader Raila Odinga during a press conference in Karen on the same day. That forms actually three-quarter and actually the only paper, the only story on this page, actually.
All right. Time for us to cross the borders and take a look at the big news in neighboring countries of Uganda and Tanzania. We start off with Kampala, Uganda, and there we have the Daily Monitor. And the big story there, the best of UCE. The 2023 Uganda Certificate of Education, this is the equivalent, the Ugandan equivalent of KCSE. The results show an improved performance with 95.9% of the candidates qualifying to join post-UCE institutions. And they've done what we always do. They've placed photos of all the top performers across the country on the front page. That's the only news on the front page of the Daily Monitor, photos of the best of UCE performers. Same story on
the New Vision.
The New Vision, still in Uganda. UCE best schools and students, and it's the only story that finds space on the front page with lots of photos of top performers in that examination. And that's as far as Uganda news is concerned today.
Before we cross over to Rwanda, remember the UPE, the Uganda's
primary education.
Primary education. They also had the photos of the teachers who did well.
Yes, and I found that rather interesting.
Yes.
In Kenya, we rarely post photos of teachers, especially in relation to examination performance. But this time, I don't think they've posted pictures of the teachers, though.
So maybe now tomorrow, or maybe
Yes.
consequently they'll actually do that, because that time they had the photos of best students, and then the next day they had the photos of their teachers.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
That's in Kampala. Tuende Rwanda and see what is making big news on that country. On the New Times, it's the weekend edition. The paper going all the way till around Sunday there. And they say Rwanda's record $1 billion mineral revenue inspires growth. That is according to the miners. And the country has 3 refineries and prospects of having a lithium refinery. Never politics on this paper.
Never.
Another interesting story, genocide. UN court to close Rwanda field office. And pictured here is the registrar of the International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals. Quite a mouthful word there. Abubakar Tambudu addressing journalists yesterday, and revealed that that particular tribunal would close its Kigali field office as of 31st of August, almost 30 years of operation. Interesting news coming out of Rwanda. Mata's school feeding program budget rises to 90 billion Rwandan francs, and they will also tell you what it means. And that is from Rwanda. Can cross over now to Tanzania.
All right, tuangazie gazeti la Mwananchi kule Tanzania. Chadema yalifunga jalada la Kinamdi, and I know it's not the easiest headline to understand. Chadema ni chama cha upinzani, yalifunga jalada la Kinamdi, yanawa mikono na kuacha hatima ya ubunge wao kwa wananchi, huku wakibembesha mzigo Daktari Tulia, Mbowe, Mnyika, Lissu waongoza maandamano ya amani, Mwanza waitika. I think it's a dispute over the position of some members of parliament from Chadema who were to be suspended, and Chadema, I think, has just washed its hands because of this individuals. So maswala ya siasa kule Tanzania yamepewa kipaumbele. Habari nyingine kuu pale, simanzi mapokezi ya Lowassa and aliyekuwa waziri mkuu wakati mmoja kule Tanzania, Lowassa, Edward Lowassa, I think gari ambalo linabeba mwili wake likitembea nchini Tanzania. Mapya aliyepigwa ngumi akiomboleza msiba wa Lowassa. Jamaa litandikwa ngumi kule maombolezini. Hayo ndio masuala yanayopewa kipaumbele kule Tanzania hii leo.
Pia wanasema acha kuchangia earphone na watu kujiepusha na hatari hizi, masuala ya afya pale. Kwambia stop sharing earphones.
Oh yeah.
Let's cross over to now a language that we won't bite our tongues speaking. And this is actually, it's not the main story, but it's a very interesting story in Tanzania. Beer prices are going to really surge. That's now in Zanzibar, actually. So prices of beer, so they say beer gamble that puts Zanzibar's economy at risk, and prices of beer, in brackets, mainly imported brands and other alcoholic beverages, have continued to surge in Zanzibar, with supply falling sharply as revelers continue to dig deeper into their pockets. So in case you're planning on crossing over to Zanzibar, because Kenya's prices might be pinching your pockets, well, you might be having a shocker in Tanzania and in Zanzibar, for that matter. They say 300%, those who are accustomed to imported brands are paying almost 300% above regular prices. Wow. Now to the main story, has to do with matters oil, and they say oil marketers count losses as dollar rate crunch bites. The Ministry of Energy has been called to action after a leaked letter that revealed that oil suppliers have been purchasing forex at a premium, contrary to central bank rates and those displayed by commercial banks. More is on page 2, but then they quote a figure there, $30 million. Only $30 million has been used to calculate the average forex rate, as opposed to the aggregate market demand of $250 million. And that is the Citizen for you, and our cue to get into the cartoons this morning. Kama kawaida on page 10 of the People Daily.
And yes, all the cartoons today have one theme, Raila's AU job. I can see even the People Daily has a saying.
Oh, yes.
Start with that one.
Oh, yes.
Stano's take.
The gentleman there with a caricature looking like Azimio leader Raila Odinga, and he's saying, they stopped my reggae. No one will stop my AU ambition.
It's carrying his CV.
Oh, yes.
For the AU job.
Oh, yes.
It's a similar cartoon on the front, on page 14 of the Standard. There's a sign there about, showing the direction of the presidential race in 2027. But then this caricature of Raila Odinga making a U-turn and carrying the AU seat. And he says, a bird in hand is worth two in State House. The Daily Nation has its cartoon on page 18, matters AU as well. And it's titled The Pacifier. And this is very interesting. If at all you've ever raised a small baby, there's that thing that you put in their mouth so that they keep quiet. It's called a pacifier. And the indication here is that Raila Odinga has been given this AU job as a pacifier. And you have an image there of Olusegun Obasanjo giving Raila Odinga that African pacifier. So yes, all the cartoonists today are in alignment. Yes.
The AU, right.
Now we'll be discussing this and a lot more after the break on State of the Nation. Today being Friday, it will be the youth perspective. And my panelists today, Yusuf Omete, Head of Digital Communications, UDA, Njerika Higa, National Youth Representative, and Kamau Wambiu, Kiambu Youth Caucus. They will be in studio. Do stand by for that conversation. What else will be happening later on?
Oh yes, we'll be having a local artist, as well as the Trans, Jumonoto Expanse Kimuyu, as well as Gishambi Nderetu will be joining me to discuss what has been happening on Feel Good Friday. Andy on the beat, a musician, getting to know what he's been up to. You definitely want to stick around for that. But then for the Feel Good vibes and the 1s and 2s, 3s and 4s, and Wheels of Steel, DJ Slides will be right here to make sure that your weekend starts as it should be.
Okay, so you can start sending in your requests as early as now. You can interact with this entire show through our social media pages on X at TV47 News and on Facebook, TV47 Kenya.
I'm very curious from the gentleman. Did she buy you something for Valentine's?
Are you still on that?
This is the last one.
At the men's conference, we were told something totally different, but yes, I'll allow you to do that.
And I'll also want to learn from the gentleman as well. What did you learn from the men's conference? Yes. Okay. I was there at the back, as much as you didn't see me.
Clearly.
What did you learn from the men's conference? And also, gentlemen, what did she buy you, or what did she get you for the Valentine's? Talk to us on our socials. So we'll be sampling your feedback as we wrap this show all the way until Uko Manine. Stick around, you're watching Morning Cafe. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV47 with me, Fred Ndimuli. Time for us to take a look at the big headlines on State of the Nation. Today being Friday, it is a youth perspective. We are privileged to have in studio Yusuf Omete, Head of Digital Communications, UDA. It's a pleasure to have you in studio.
Asante sana.
Karibu sana. Also in studio with us is Kamau Ambiu, Kiambu Youth Caucus. It's good to have you at TV47 as well.
Thank you.
We are hoping that Jerry Kahiga will be joining the panel, but with the two gentlemen here, we are good to go. And of course, the big headline today and the biggest talking point across all the major dailies in Kenya is this AU job for Raila Odinga. On the Standard, Raila, why I want to be Africa's CEO. On the Daily Nation, it is on the very top strip, how AU bid affects Raila's political game. It is also on the People Daily, what Raila fight for AU job means. And on the Star, Raila Ruto AU pact, jitters rock Azimio. Now, those are the big headlines, even on Taifa Leo. Taifa Leo goes with, kweli natafuta kazi. We'll get to that, gentlemen, but before that, I want us to focus on the economy. And over the last few days, this has been a very interesting week for Kenya. And there's a lot of excitement around the performance of the local currency, the shilling, against major world currencies. And yesterday, if I could just look even on the back page of the Daily Nation, where the shilling is gaining ground, and some banks yesterday morning were selling the dollar for the dollar for as low as 139 Kenya shillings. This from a high of 160, and that's a huge gain. I think the biggest drop for the dollar in 12 years. The last time we had such a drastic drop was about 2012, and. Yes, there is excitement, but there's also a lot of caution. And I don't know, what's your feeling, Yusuf? What's your feeling about the kind of excitement you see around the shilling rally against the USD especially?
Fred, first of all, I want to thank you for having us today. Exciting news for our nation. And just to go into figures, yesterday, as you've rightly mentioned, we closed at around 150. The Kenyan shilling is not just gaining against the dollar alone. We are looking at figures even, we have gained exponentially against the naira. 1 shilling going against 10 shillings of the Nigerian currency. You've mentioned that it is the first time in the last 12 years, which is good, gaining 3%. But this is an issue that has been bothering many Kenyans. And you've had the president saying that we are spending a lot of money or spending so much foreign currency into issues to do with food, importing close to 500 billion of food, actually depleting our foreign reserve. So this is a good indication, an economy that, like it has been said, moving from the ICU to the HDU, now to the general ward. So just like many Kenyans, I am really excited. We are seeing signs of an economy that is rebounding, resilience. And you know, coming from Corona, an election, this is a very good indication for our country. Okay. We are hoping, and actually I had the Deputy President mentioning yesterday that even figures from the CBK indicating by the end of February, we'll be going lower to 100. So it is good, a good sign for economy. We can only hope for the best. And it is important that we interrogate what are some of the effects or spillover effects of a regaining shilling against our economy. For instance, we import oil using the dollar. So my expectations as a young person and also someone who works for this government or the party that supported the president to the State House is that the strength of the shilling will be reflected to the lives of an ordinary mwananchi, seeing that the prices of fuel goes down, commodities, foods, and so to say. So this is a good indication. We are on the right path as a nation under the leadership of President William Ruto.
Kamau, if at all this whatever we're seeing now, the performance, the tremendous performance of the shilling, if at all it is due to certain direct interventions by central bank or the government for that matter, then it must be a stroke of genius. Definitely the president will be right to actually claim credit. He had promised that the US dollar would come down to about 115 Kenya shillings earlier on, and people doubted him. Now we're seeing that it is looking more and more like a reality.
Thank you, Fred, for having me. I'm listening to Yusuf here, and you know, when the deal is too good, you think twice. And when things start moving very fast, you know, you ask your question. So we have to ask our question. Everyone, yes, it's very good and very okay that it's stabilizing, and we're having a stable, quote unquote, the economy is coming to some stability. But for how long? You get easy come, easy go. We don't know. According to my research, and I think we'll touch on the Eurobond. The president went and extended the Eurobond for payment of 8 years, so that we can get negotiated to push the payment to 8 years to a higher extended rate, thus bringing down the rates started coming low, and we started gaining in the market, unlike other countries in Africa that has been defaulted. So for how long will it be stable? Because this quote-unquote just orgasm for right now, it's just for a short while. And if at all it's going low, let us see drastic decline of prices in commodities. Let us see drastic prices in fuel. You know, the president was saying that fuel is high because these people are selling, are holding the dollar. That is why they are selling at a high rate. Now it's going down. So fuel, the same way the dollar has gone down from 160 to 130 within 3 days. 30 shillings within 3 days.
It is a drastic...
That's a drastic, that's what, 30%.
And that should be a cause for concern, because we are talking about the stability of the local shilling, the local currency. That kind of movement should worry people, because everyone is worried. Is it sustainable?
So if Fred, if IPRA reduces the price of fuel and fuel products by 1 shilling, they'll have failed. But I mean,
that's what
the dollar is around 30.
Yes,
right?
But the question is, do you think it will stay low long enough for the effects to be felt, especially in the prices of fuel, which will determine a lot more? Do you think it can last maybe for 3-4 months, the current performance of the shilling?
Not really. It will not stay low.
Okay.
It will again in a week's time, and remind me. Remember my words. It will go up.
Wow.
It will go back to 150. Because if at all fuel cannot go down, cost of food cannot go down, electricity, 1,000 shillings is going for 27 units. That is crazy.
Yes, but Yusuf, we cannot expect instantaneous relief a day after this kind of rally by the shilling. It does take time. And the question is, will it stay low long enough for Kenyans to actually feel the effects? Apart from those selling dollars directly.
And Fred, you raise a very important question, and probably just to pick from where my colleague has left. You know, the journey of stabilizing an economy doesn't just happen in a day. I remember when the president and the deputy president took over, they said they found a government that had problems. Actually, they inherited a very huge debt. We are importing a lot of food, like I've mentioned. There is so much we are pumping out as a country in terms of imports on things that we are supposed to be manufacturing locally. So to fix those problems, it will take strategic efforts and interventions. And it is not just a one-day affair. And I want to pick an example of food because I have a feeling we are a country with a lot of potential to produce enough food even to export to other nations, but we are not seizing that moment. And there are deliberate efforts. Look at even the whole program of subsidized fertilizer. We have doubled our maize production as a country from 22 million bags to close to 44 million bags. Monies that we've been using as a country to do what? To import items like those ones. So strategically, and it is something that will take time. I choose to be hopeful. I choose to be resilient because this is a country. If this country fails, we all fail. But just to mention a few, is President William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza government doing something to ensure that this government stabilizes? The answer is yes. We have seen even our peers, Ghana defaulted on their Eurobond. Our immediate neighbor here, Ethiopia, they were unable to service a 3 billion Eurobond, and we have a bigger Eurobond than them. So the interventions that the regime is putting into place to ensure that we don't go that route, they are commendable. Fuel, we have been seeing strategic decline of fuel, and not just fuel alone. Prices of unga have gone down. Prices of edible oil have gone down. So we might not realize quick dividends, but they are strategic. Slowly by slowly, we are getting there.
The question is, are we seeing proper actions by the administration that would sustain this kind of economic stability that we now seem to be enjoying? It could be some relief short term, but are you seeing any kind of actions that you'd say, yes, I think because of these actions by the government, then probably that could actually ensure this one lasts longer?
Not really. Allow me to answer you so fast. You cannot compare a dog and a lion. Our economy and Ethiopia's economy and Ghana's economy, two different levels. If I ask what is the GDP of Ethiopia, what is the GDP of Ghana, what is our GDP? So wherever rate we are able to pay that debt very fast. The only problem we have in this country is people with self-interest. If now you say, and I really hate it when these people say, we found a government of empty coffers. The one saying those words was a member of parliament. His boss was the deputy president for 10 years. The Eurobond you are paying right now was acquired when him and the former president Uhuru, they were matching ties. You get? So there is no way you're telling me is a problem of mismanagement by the previous government. It's because of self-interest.
Okay.
If this country can have people who think and who radically think on management issues, you know, we could be very far. So this Eurobond you're saying, we have not seen anything being done in a year plus. There's nothing, Fred.
And even as you respond to that, many people are questioning because it is not that we've repaid the Eurobond. It's that we appear to have postponed the problem.
Yes.
Simply by buying back the same Eurobond that was set to mature in June. Now we've postponed it by acquiring new investors to buy back the same. Now the maturity will come about 8, 9, 10 years later. Is that really a solution? You get one loan to pay another?
Actually, it's strategic. You'd ask economists around. It is an equivalent of having an expensive debt and moving from, I don't want to mention banks, but Bank A is charging you at 33%. Annual, then you're going to a circle that is charging you 15. That is a brilliant move. And it is important for us to mention that the problems we are facing as a nation, they are not isolated to Kenya. We are in a global recession. I was reading a report yesterday. Even the UK has gone into inflation. Prices of common commodities are unaffordable for many UK residents. So when we are looking at Kenya, let us be honest and agree that we are not living in an island. And for example, this issue of the dollar, the president has kept on saying, some of the things that are happening in the global market, they are beyond Kenyan's leadership intervention. They are based, or they are dependent on market forces, demand and supply. So saying that we are not doing something as a government, or President William Ruto is not doing something as a government, I think we are being economical with facts. There are strategic interventions in the short term, medium and long term to ensure that the economy stabilizes and also cushion areas that we have been losing a lot of money. Okay. Many examples, even the whole idea of digitalizing government payment systems, one government account, pumping much money into youth and women-related programs to stimulate the economy. Those are some of the interventions that eventually will pay off. Okay. So let us be hopeful. I do not want to go into the history of President William Ruto and his former boss Uhuru Kenyatta. They are well-laid facts, their relationship to their last regime, when the handshake came in. So those are some of the issues you cannot blame on William and Rigathi. But
let's be honest, Kamau, when this current Eurobond that matures in June was taken in 2014, you were 10 years younger. Today we are describing you as a Kenyan youth.
Yes.
When this buyback that has happened, that has brought this relief now, matures, you'll be at least 8 years older than you are today. Are you comfortable, and do you think we should be applauding this administration for simply kicking the can down the road, postponing the problem from today to 8 years later? Because you will still be here, hopefully, and that burden will still exist.
Yes, it will. And you cannot solve a problem by creating another problem. You get? The only way the president would have done is to solve that Eurobond once and for all. Try and pay it. And because this country, we have the resources, we have the how. He should have found a way to settle some of these things he got from the previous government. Now, postponing wherever we were in 2014, to now, I was young, at least, and I was aware of what was happening. I was following. We have grown, but we have not grown. Okay, it's the same thing that will happen.
So the Kenyan youth now will be the ones to carry this burden in 8 years.
We will be able. We are the ones to carry this burden. This is, I don't know. He has postponed it for another president, for another parliament. You know. At least they know when I'll be 10 years from now, that is 2032, that parliament of 2032, they know they have a problem to tackle. So you're already going in knowing that you have a problem. A Form 4 student right now, when they are coming out of school, they are coming out to a very bad state of the economy. Why? Because they know 10 years from now, there is something that will be charged at a very high interest rate. You get?
And we'll be talking about this Eurobond then.
And you're yes.
And Bwana Omete, because looking at your trajectory, right now you're the head of digital communications, meaning that in 8, 9, 10 years' time, if at all you follow the same trajectory, you could be in senior leadership in Kenya. This will be your burden in 8 years' time.
Brother, don't
Are you comfortable, and why do you think we should be applauding this administration for simply postponing this problem, which you will have to carry now?
I am comfortable. You see, we are in difficult times, and you look at the available options, and you realize that this was one of the strategic available options in the market. It reminds me back in my class at the University of Nairobi, in one of the political economy classes, we were taught about debt, and the US alone, the US, the superpower of this whole world, it has a 34 trillion USD debt. That is America we are talking about.
But they're the ones who produce the dollar. They print it, so they are.
Irrespective of that, my point is that there is no nation that survives without debt. Japan, number 4 in the global economy, $9.51 trillion.
Which is okay. Are you
and what we must ask ourselves, when we are taking this debt, is for what purpose? And the problem has been, there have been different figures, different narrations, reports indicating that even the Eurobond we are paying for right now, that money was embezzled. So our focus as Kenyans, and the question we should be asking President William Ruto and his deputy and the entire Kenya Kwanza government, are you being prudent with the monies that you are borrowing on our behalf? Are we being prudent with the taxes we are collecting? These, the levies that the government has introduced just to ensure that the economy moves, are we being prudent in the management of public funds? That should be the biggest discussion. But if we scare Kenyans and other people that we cannot borrow to run activity A, activity B, and so we'll be slowing down as a nation. And I just want to pick a point he raised, comparing our Kenyan economy to Ethiopia, Ghana, and Zambia. We have a huge government. When you read the Constitution of Kenya, it has established county governments to the lowest level. Those entities have to be funded. And I remember the president was in Kakamega and he was asking Kenyans, I have to pay the police. I have to pay teachers. If you compare the workforce of Kenyan civil servants to these countries I've mentioned, then it makes no sense completely to say that these people are dogs, then we guys are lions in terms of economic share, so we cannot compare ourselves to that extent. Look at even CBC, the problems we are having with the CBC, for example. A whole new system of government, new teachers, infrastructure, talk about books and so on. Those are issues that this government has to fund. And it has two choices, tax Kenyans or borrow to meet that gap. So,
or borrow to pay another loan.
Absolutely.
Hold that thought. We'll be back to continue this conversation. You're watching Morning Cafe. Today being Friday, it is a youth perspective on the state of the nation. And you can be part of this conversation as well through our social media pages on X at TV47 News and on Facebook, TV47 Kenya. You're watching Morning Cafe. on TV47 with me, Fred Ndimuli. I'm still in studio with Yusuf Omete, Head of Digital Communications UDA, Kamau Ambiu, Kiambu Youth Caucus, and Jerika Higa, National Youth Representative, now joins us. Karibu sana. We continue discussing the big headlines, and of course there's a lot of excitement on matters to do with the Kenya shilling and its impressive rally against world major currencies, especially the USD, as well as what kind of connection it has to the successful management, let me call it management, of the Eurobond debt that was due in June this year. Now, just before the break, Bwana Kamau, you wanted to say something with regard to how the economy is being handled and some concerns on how we spend some of these monies that we are borrowing, especially on recurrent expenditure and salaries for civil servants.
Yes. I wanted to answer Yusuf. He said something about the president saying that he has a lot of recurrent expenditure. You know, and I said, in this country we have a problem of faith and management. Those are two different things. You can pray and pray and pray and pray. That is belief, that is faith. And God will grant you and give you 50 million. But you'll squander it within 1 month, 2, 3 months. We see people selling land. Instead of bettering their lives, it becomes worse. You get? So this country is the same. We have a prayerful government, too much belief, but the moment we get the money, they don't have any idea on how to manage it.
Okay.
You get? For instance, we are having a housing problem. We'll touch on it. We are having an expenditure problem. He said about civil servants who he has to pay. Just the other day, EACC said this government has a lot of fake employees, unqualified. At the same time, this country, in a year, it graduates more than 500,000 students.
Actually, 1 million.
1 million. Thank you. He is coming closer. So where is this 1 million going? And what is happening to the other unqualified? And they are getting paid.
Kenyan youth with the proper degrees are not getting employment.
Are not getting employment. These people are 40, 50, 60, wanakatalia pale.
With fake papers.
With fake papers.
Okay.
The government is doing nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was very sad that the highest parastatal with the highest number of unqualified personnel, KNH.
Okay.
Now explains why people in KNH
I'll give you an opportunity to respond to this before we engage in Jerika Higa.
They are out there, you know.
Yeah.
All these, so the other one was geothermal. That explains why we experience blackouts every now and then.
Okay.
You get? Because the idea of employing someone is for them to bring, minds. It's for them to bring minds here on that organization to better the operation.
Yusuf, you have anything to, in terms of response to that?
He's raising very important points in terms of corporate governance. But it is important just to remind him that President William Ruto is in office not more than 2 years, actually. It should be 1 year and 3 months thereabout, if I'm not wrong.
Actually, 1 year, 6 months or so.
Absolutely.
Point of correction, he has been in government since 1992.
It is.
So there's a problem that has been there. He has been a deputy president for 10 years. He has been a president before for 48 hours.
Okay.
So he has been in government. He has been a former minister. He has been a lawmaker in parliament since 1997.
Okay.
For Eldoret North. So he has been in that government. So he is the system. He knows the system. He knows the problem.
It is now that he's in charge or is the CEO.
Okay.
And would hold him to account on the basis that he's now the team leader or the captain of this ship we call Kenya. But that aside, he raises very important issues regarding governance and misuse of public funds. I just want to pick a report that I saw yesterday. There is a parliamentary committee that has started investigations on more than 700 million that was misused by President Uhuru when he was exiting office. It just lifts the lid on how bad things were when Kenyans were moving towards the 2022 general elections. And it was estimated that State House by then was burning more than 1 billion actually on a day, campaigning for Raila Odinga.
And I see the possibility of us digressing from the main discussion.
And maybe just to finish, and what is raising regarding fake papers, it is not just in geothermal alone. We have issues with Kenha. We have issues with Kura. All of us saw the report on the JKIA, the second green terminal, how the whole contract was bundled, and we are paying more than 3 billion for that matter. So there is need for radical surgery in the whole public sector. But those are steps that...
I think you guys are in agreement as far as that is concerned.
Yes. And so, is something being done about it? Okay. Yes, something is being done about it.
Let's bring in Jerry Kahiga into this conversation because I get a feeling we're digressing from what we had started.
We are not. This point is not. It's adding on the expenditure. We don't, how we are managing. The other day I saw tenders of renovation of State House, state lounges. How do you use 430 million for renovation?
Okay.
Is it
okay?
Do we need it?
Okay, Njeri Kahiga,
billion for all
this discussion has morphed from the kind of excitement. This is where we started with the excitement we're seeing around the shilling's performance against world major currencies and the Eurobond, and the kind of relief it has brought to Kenyans and especially to the Kenya Kwanza administration. And we're wondering whether or not we're justified in celebrating or applauding or getting excited by what we're seeing. The shilling is performing very well. Yesterday, and this is a back page of the Standard, some banks were selling the dollar for as low as 139 shillings. That's yesterday morning, which is impressive. That coming on the back of that announcement by Treasury that they had secured a deal that could buy back the Eurobond that was due in June this year, now extending it to another 8, 9, 10 years or so. And there are concerns about simply postponing that problem and not tackling it as it should. But generally, there is excitement around these moves, and they've all come in this 1 week. Do you think we're justified to be applauding some of these moves?
Thank you very much. Sorry, I got late. First of all, I want to say that, Kenya Kwanza is a government that surprises me with how they operate. They look for the least thing to be celebrating. I saw them celebrating their paying loans as if Kenya has been defaulting for the last 10 or so years. First of all, yes, the dollar rate has gone down at a moment, it has gone back. So we're not even sure by afternoon how much it's going to be. If we were talking of Kenya Kwanza, within that 1 week that the dollar rate has been, the shilling has been gaining against the dollar, and then we talk of Kenya Kwanza imepunguza bei ya mafuta, or we talk of when I go to the pump, I'm told, wow, today you are going to consume 100 per liter, or I go to the supermarket and I find unga is at 80 shillings, then we will talk about the shilling is doing properly, and I would also be excited. But you cannot tell me you want us to celebrate something that Kenya, Parliament in Narwa County, who is not doing imports, is not even feeling about the shilling gaining. Secondly, they are talking about they have done something. Why had they not done that and waited for it to go to 160? Why do you wait for less? Not only the one who is creating this shilling, you want to give us a perception.
Okay.
And if at all it's them who is doing...
Apologies, because there seems to be an audio problem. We'll come to you later as we sort out that. Okay. But there are serious concerns, and you can see that this is a shared concern.
Exactly.
That whatever we are doing may not really augur well in the long run. That probably this is just patchwork from the perspective of at least Njeri Kahiga.
It is important that we tell Kenyans the truth and nothing but the truth. We are not out of the woods, and I share the President's sentiments that there is need for work, and a lot of work that must be done by me and also by the government of Kenya. But maybe let me just mention something that keeps intriguing me every time I hear about it. The price of unga. The price of unga. And the price of unga is not determined by the dollar. The price of unga is determined by putting more investments, supporting the farm, that farmer in Nyandarua that you mentioned about. That should be our biggest concern, making fertilizer, one, affordable and available for that farmer. I remember back in 2020, I also do farming as in my other life. I remember I bought fertilizer, a 50 kg bag of Yara at 7,000 bob. Fertilizer selling at a premium price automatically locks out the farmer. So the issue of unga, and it is important, we mentioned that Kenyans' lives do not revolve around unga. Unga is just a representation of the struggle. But there is rice in this economy. There are potatoes in this economy. There are beans in this economy. There is milk. There is millet and those traditional foods that Kenyans are used to. What are the interventions that this government is putting into place? Okay. She's not mentioning about edible oil that we are buying 5 liters for, I don't know, 4,000 and so on. So these interventions, they would not be magic that will just drop the price of unga from where it is right now to 70 or 50 bob. We need to have more investments, and I like what the president usually says, we must subsidize production and not consumption. Okay. Yes.
I want us now to move to the next discussion, and it is very political, and I can see all of you have very serious political ambitions. And I want to know how this move will affect your political ambitions or political future, if at all. And it is the biggest talking point, why I want to be Africa CEO, that's Raila Odinga, on the front page of the Standard. How AU bid affects Raila's political game, but more so how it affects the political game of other political parties and political players as well. I start with you, Bwana Kamau. One, do you think it is the right move by Raila Odinga, because it automatically takes him out of the 2027 race? And how do you think it will affect the political field, given the fact that many people have always said ODM is Raila and Raila is ODM?
Actually, I'd say Raila is the political university of this country. Why do I say that? Dr. Ruto is a product of Raila. But Moses Kuria, who's, a lot of people, the president, the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, was a member of ODM. So Raila having such acumen, having such stature, and having grown to his age, and having tried to date, he's almost 70 years.
He's 83.
83.
No, he just turned 79.
79. Yeah, he's 79 years.
79 years.
This man, even when approaching 80, he's still concerned about the people. Now, this guy maybe receives a few stipends here and there for being a former prime minister. He has his businesses here and there. So this guy does not run for office for money. He doesn't run for office for, such interest. This guy runs for office for legacy. And if at all that legacy he fits in can put him up there by going for the president of Africa, as he had this Aaron Cheriot said he wants to be the president of Africa, which is to some mockery, to some extent, which is okay, being president of the AU. I think it is a good move for him as a person, for him to retire in a more better
You see
place.
this as more of retirement?
Yeah, this is more of retirement, because once he comes out of there, he's retired. Okay. And is more peaceful, So
you think this is the right move?
This is the right move for him as a person. Now this is where he's like, Kenyans have tried to tell you, I told you, listening. It's my time and my wife now. Let me enjoy Africa. Let me listen to other problems of Africa. Let me try I'll still be solving them, because the African Constitution, AU Constitution says the chair cannot be involved in the politics of his country. So he will be advising from behind to whoever he gives us. But it's a right move.
Jerry, do you think it's the right move at the right time for Raila Odinga to exit Kenyan politics?
First of all, I don't want to give a yes or no answer because, of course, I'm a Azimio supporter and a good supporter of Azimio because Baba has been somebody that I really don't know how long we are going to take as Kenya to get another Baba because, but funnily, Kenyans only love Baba when somebody else is serving. People heckling President Ruto when he's there na kina Alice Ng'ang'a. And this is important to Kenya for him to come and say, what Kenyans are doing. And for his whole political life, Baba has been somebody who has been trying to just tell Kenyans, give me a chance, give me a chance, give me a chance. But we never gave him that chance. So why would we not allow him go to Africa if they give him the chance? Because at the end of the day, he will need to be backed up by this nation. And we know who is head of this nation. So he will need to be, he will be a Kenyan candidate. He will not go in there as an Azimio candidate. He will be a Kenyan candidate. So whether Kenya Kwanza wants or not, at the end of the day, if he's to go, he's to go as a Kenyan, as a Kenyan participant, and then they decide who to give this seat. For me, if you ask me if that is not my I think Africa should just be.
Do you think it will have a negative effect, especially on most of the politicians within Azimio who have been riding on Raila Odinga's name for their own popularity?
On Raila's name. If this regime wakes up and realizes, things wake up and say, Raila has been going to the streets, and that is the reason as to why we've not been having ample time. So, Azimio don't ride on Raila. Every politician in Kenya rides on Raila. If Raila is not in Kenya for 1 year, you would be shocked because Kenya Kwanza would be wondering, who do we blame?
Yes.
So it's a loss for them more than it's a loss to Azimio.
So definitely this is going to be a game changer for the entire political field. Many are seeing this as a stroke of political genius by President Ruto because the headlines the day before yesterday seem to indicate that the Kenya Kwanza administration is actually fronting Raila and supporting this move. In fact, they quoted, they were saying that the main reason why the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, went early to Addis Ababa ahead of the AU Commission is that AU Summit is that he is the one tasked with ensuring that this does happen. If at all it is true that Kenya Kwanza supports and actually has fronted Raila Odinga for this job, then William Ruto should be seen as a politician par excellence.
He's the current day professor of politics. And I would disagree with my friend here. William Ruto has learned politics from many people. One person you would credit William Ruto's shoulders or the political acumen is actually the former president, Moi. Raila actually came in at some point. But what is the government's position on Raila's bid to AU or even UDA? First of all, the party supports any Kenyan. Be it Raila Odinga, be it Fred Ndimuli, be it my friend Maina here, whoever would run for any seat at the global platform.
Would UDA or Kenya Kwanza, for example, support the retired President Uhuru Kenyatta for the same position? Because he has also been touted as a possible candidate.
Actually, it has been said that actually Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila probably would make the candidature list for Kenya. But our position is whoever it is, provided you're a Kenyan, and you've shown interest that you want that position and you have the capacity and the capabilities, UDA will support you and the government of Kenya will support you. And this comes at the backdrop of what the president has been doing or going around saying and actually looking for opportunities for Kenyans out there. I am happy. Raila is becoming that part, that Kenya. That is not my point. We have been looking for opportunities for Kenyans out here. And here is an opportunity for a Kenyan to do what? To occupy. And it is important we mention this, that Raila Odinga currently is 79 years. He's in the age brackets of the likes of Basanjo and other statesmen. And whether you are a supporter of Raila or not, this is a man who has had an illustrious political career. When the history books of this nation will be written, it will be difficult to omit Raila's name.
Allow me to refer to the front page of the Star newspaper today.
Yes.
And if my director can actually help me with this, being the front page of the Star, it talks about a deal. Raila Ruto AU Pact. And then an extension there you have it, Jita's Rock Azimio. But they talk about a pact, meaning that for Kenya Kwanza, it's already an agreement that they will back Raila. And my question is, why not back Uhuru Kenyatta? Why not back any other candidate? Why Raila?
I have mentioned any Kenyan. Raila is just part of the candidature. And it is important for us to understand what will be the role of Kenyan government into this, I don't want to call it a fishing expedition, but what will be the role of the government in ensuring that any Kenyan, whether it's Raila Odinga or Uhuru Kenyatta, succeeds in this mission?
Okay.
And we have a man on given a very important task, and that is Musalia Mudavadi. And that takes us back to the history of Kenyan politics, and all of us remember the story of The Hague and how ODM wrote a letter to The Hague, Funga Uhuru, Funga Ruto, and things like those ones. When Ruto came into office, we were being told that Ruto is a man on a vengeance mission that is going to crucify and sacrifice any other person who did not support him. On the contrary, we are seeing efforts by this president, who was vehemently opposed by Azimio, putting his foot forward to support
But how
his
does this,
competitors for a very important role on the...
a lot of the issues we're facing today, Kamau, because we have going concerns even in Parliament, especially with the NADCO report, which depends a lot on Raila Odinga's muscle behind it to ensure that it goes through, especially on the reconstitution of the IEBC. If at all Raila Odinga is forced to cede ground on some of those things because of this horse trading or this pact that we're talking about because of these, the job at the AU. That could affect a lot of the current politics that we're experiencing, don't you think?
As I said, Raila is an institution. So when the Vice Chancellor of Nairobi University ceases to be the Vice Chancellor, the institution still continues. Like in the university where I was in Chuka. The Vice Chancellor, Mr. Njoka, Professor Njoka, resigned. That does not mean his acumen cannot be used by whoever succeeds him. So if Raila, yes, and I hope so, he gets the job, that does not mean it will stop. Why? Because himself is an institution. He has people who...
Don't you think that probably he has been forced into a corner, trying to negotiate for government support for this AU position? Then he'll be told probably, hey, now because we are doing this, on the other side, can you give us something as well? Are you concerned that there could be such discussions that could affect the outcome of some of these things that we've been looking forward to?
If only the Kenya Kwanza government are the one who searched for this position. But to my understanding, this man, he went and searched and voted for that position himself. He earned it.
Okay.
He didn't earn it through the Kenya Kwanza government. Yes, the support of the government is needed because it's a requirement from the AU. You get, but now him alone, he earned it. So the government cannot intimidate him that you're not going to support you because of this. Actually, what they are doing it so that they may push him away. You know, as I love what he said, President Uhuru is not coming back to run for president. You get? So what is being done here by these people is eliminating a threat.
Okay.
Okay? I want you to get that very, very, very much clear.
It is purely because of 2027.
It is purely because of the future and also the nagging that man does to any government. the man is a wave. You get? So the president and Musalia and they know what Raila, boss, he made the first quarter of this government a living hell. Maandamano every day. Don't joke with that person.
Okay. Now the concern comes that if at all he actually does get the job and he leaves, his office will be based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And now the issue of succession within Azimio comes into play. And there have been jitters even about the possible successors to Raila Odinga. Is it a conversation that Azimio is comfortable having at this time? Or do you share concerns that the exit of Raila Odinga could actually be the final, what do they say, straw that breaks the camel's back in as far as Azimio is concerned?
You are putting me in a very tight position to have to speak on behalf of Azimio, and I don't want to.
As a political commentator,
what I can simply say is during his journey as Azimio presidential candidate, Baba has brought a very open picture of what he and any other coalition party leaders wanted for Azimio. And at this point, whether coalitions are still intact or not is not a question of is it good or bad, because at the end of the day we have government and those not in government. So whether we are in government, those who are in government are on their own. Those not in government are on their own also. So regardless of coalitions, what I need to say is that of course these are discussions that is going to bring a lot of political fears, and of course Kenya Kwanza will want to make it look as if Azimio is going to split or something of the sort there in future. But coalitions are supposed to achieve in an election. These coalitions were formed on the basis of 2022. They are still there because we are still the agreements are still intact, but their agreements were based on 2022. So moving forward, even Kenya Kwanza, there are people who are going to drift from Kenya Kwanza. You have seen Kiambu MP Gathoni wa Mushomba. She no longer supports UDA. They keep on attacking her. You would even think she's an independent candidate, but she's really from UDA. So politically, it's going to, of course, get to a point of window transfer. This one moves from Kenya Kwanza, goes to this side, and it will no longer be Kenya Kwanza Azimio. Coming to 2027, there will be other different names for every other coalition. But what I want to say is that whatever cards that Kenya Kwanza wants to play, it's not going to help them. It's like trying to bring a solution when the door is already closed. Okay. You have no room for any sort of solution. Okay. Because whatever political cards you play, at the end of the day, mwananchi, the economically is still crying. Whether you are the smartest politician in the house, as long as you did not solve the problems that you promised Kenyans you are going to solve. I've seen the AG, Attorney General, recently at the committee in Parliament talking about he's not been respected in his independent office. Meaning, that is somebody in Kenya Kwanza who is just not telling Kenyans, you know what, okay, nilipewa kazi lakini huko, I don't work as an AG. Okay. I'm simply there as a flower girl. Yeah. So what is happening is all political divides across the board, there are a lot of fears here and there. Okay. But I really hope Kenyans can focus, because sisi wanasiasa ni wanasiasa. I really hope Kenyans can focus on the manifestos that every leader gave them. Have they actualized it? Yes or no? So regardless of whether they have won politically or not, let Kenyans focus on the manifesto that people gave.
The question of who will run against President William Ruto come 2027 is a key question. I think that's what you're finding uncomfortable to discuss. But the issue of, because even in the NADCO report that's already before the Houses of Parliament, there was a proposal which was approved. The proposal came from Kenya Kwanza itself. The formation of the office of the official leader of opposition. And by all standards, everyone assumed the de facto opposition leader in Kenya is Raila Odinga. So if at all this office is created, it would be him to occupy it. Now he's exiting the stage. If at all he'll be successful. That changes the game.
It does. But before I react to that, I think it is important to inform my colleagues or the panel that if Raila does not get the support of the Kenyan government, it will be very difficult for him to secure that seat.
Well, the understanding, even according to the headlines, is that he already has that support.
But he's not even at the masses of these regimes.
And that's why I'm mentioning it is important that Raila gets support from this government.
And if you don't support
the whole assumption that he can run alone and secure this seat, it is not here or there. And let me just persuade you to this point. And this is what excites me about the leadership of President William Ruto. We have seen him bringing people who were very fierce opponents to his regime during the campaign, people who called him names and so that, but he is bringing them to the table and telling them, guys, this country belongs to all of us. Let us put our heads together, get opportunities and interventions so that Kenyans' lives can improve. It is important for us to understand that the Kenyans' government support for Raila, it is very, very important. Remember, how do nations arrive at the AU chair? They are voted in individually by member states. And look at the position of Kenya on the continent. We are a big force. So Musalia Mudavadi going there voting for Raila Odinga or whoever candidate that would come, that would be a big plus for that candidate. But again, you've drawn my attention to the NADCO report and the whole issue of the office of the chief opposition leader. It is important to mention that one of the biggest problems we've been having as a nation is that our politics have been identity-based and not based on structures. So when the president is proposing an office of opposition leader, he realizes that most of the times our elections really splits this nation to an equal divide. And look at 2022 elections. The difference between Raila Odinga and William Ruto was a mere 200,000 votes. We have an equal half of Kenyans who believed in the candidature of Raila Odinga. We have another slightly higher that believed in the leadership of William Ruto. So where do this other half go? So to cure that problem, we are creating an office of the opposition leader. If I got 8 million votes, I lost by a mere 200. I cannot just go home and settle. Probably I had an agenda. You guys had you had housing. I remember. I read your manifesto. But you are not taxing Kenyans. You had housing in your you had housing in your manifesto, right? We had housing in our manifesto. The implementation might be different, but those were good ideas to take our nation to the next step. So I would want to persuade the opposition. It is an opportunity that has presented ourselves. Whether you are a Kenya Kwanza or an Azimio, a Kenyan, be it Raila Odinga, be it Uhuru Kenyatta, be it Fred here, be it Wajakoya or Oparanya for that matter, or even Cleophas Malala, whoever gets that position.
Now that you're mentioning names,
yes,
Bwana Kamau, I'll ask you because, well, we've seen headlines with some names, Kalonzo Musyoka for one, and even Raila Odinga said that it is possible I could actually support Kalonzo Musyoka. In as far as Azimio, or if we may call it the opposition side or the alternative side of government, do you see possible names that could possibly challenge William Ruto come 2027 and pose a serious challenge at the ballot?
Fred, before I get to that, I want to tell Yusuf, it's not about Azimio or Kenya Kwanza.
Absolutely.
This table. We're young people who are visionary about this country and about the future. So it's about what you're going to inherit in the future. It's about what kind of politics we are going to inherit in future. You get? So when we start saying this one, this one, this one, it's about us. In whatever your thought process, always remember, there's that young person who makes 70% of this country's population, and they are never considered nowhere. You get? So as we talk, let us not talk about these people who. Let us talk as the young people with the interest at heart of this country. Now, going forward, Fred, if you're going to mention who is going to succeed His Excellency, former Prime Minister,
or at least run for office come 2027, because the question has always been, and everyone is asking, is there a candidate strong enough to challenge an incumbent president come 2027?
Now, the incumbent president Dr. Samoei Ruto, if he continues with the stretch of, I want to deviate totally, if he continues with the way he is continuing, even you, Fred, you might run for office as an independent candidate and you'll beat that man. And if you're reasonable enough, you'll beat that man mercilessly. The point, the fact that he defeated Raila with only 200,000 votes.
With the backing of a former president, right?
Yeah, listen. 200,000. That's what I'm saying. Him being him has one vote, and his family, who it's a personal. We don't know even who. We don't know who voted for. You get. But what I'm trying to say here, if Dr. Ruto continues with the stretch of things that he is doing, you know, and time runs. 5 years is a small time.
It's actually about 3 years to go now.
You get, if he continues with the stretch of lies he's continuing with, he will be a one-term serving president. And he should take that to the bank.
Do you already see faces of possible successors come 2026?
Yeah, they are there. You know, the normal. We have Kalonzo, we have those who tried. We have Pastor, who was it? Pastor Mora. And then we have Wajakoya, we have, you know, now the upcoming.
Let me say this. I don't want to, of course, anybody can be a presidential candidate, including me. But what I know is in 2027, especially because I come from the mountain, of course, I have to talk as a mountain person. The mountain feels cheated by Kenya Kwanza government. Yeah. Because for one, they did not do what Uhuru would have wanted, and they went against him and voted in Ruto. But the first place that this government has been heckled is in Mount Kenya. We saw it in Kiambu, we saw it in Meru. That tells you, in 2027, the mountain, you know, we are prestigious enough to say that we have run this country for the last, how many years? 10 za Kibaki, 10 za Uhuru, na 10 za Jomo Kenyatta. What I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to be tribal, but I'm trying to say the basket of Mount Kenya is not just any other basket that anybody can joke with. If you look at the recent occurrences within political parties, coalitions aside, let's talk of political parties. You will see that UDA, ile ingine ya Moses Kuria inaitwa Chama cha Kazi, there is PNU, there is NAK Kenya, there is Wiper, there are all those other parties. But I want you to give a special look at what is happening in the mountain. People have come to a realization of, we went to a regime without a party. We went to the table without a binding contract with these people. We believed somebody who was not from our region, and now he's shortchanging us because everywhere it's Kiplangat, Kiptinui, and yet they tell us we are shareholders in their regime. But when you look at the DP, he's really not doing enough to lobby enough. He's people from the mountain. Okay. Look at Murkomen. Okay. Don't interrupt me.
I like this suggestion. You seem to be suggesting, Jerry, that probably the main opposition in 2027 will not necessarily come from ODM or the traditional opposition. Will come from the mountain.
And I was heading to tell you, if you look at the recent newspaper, I guess last week said that Murkomen had given a brother to Duale some appointment in some committee. Those are people from other regions, lobbying for their own people. But the people that Kenya Kwanza have from the mountain in their regime are quiet. So what is the mountain going to do? It's going to erupt with a lot of, they are going to really feel like we cannot go on with this regime. Okay. Look at a party like PNU. Serikali bana.
I'm the government here.
You are the government here. Thank you. What I'm trying to say is, look at somebody like Peter Munya. He was the former CS in the Uhuru's regime. Don't undermine that man. I'll tell you this for a fact. Peter Munya, if he decides, he can do it. Look at the likes of Lee Kenyanjui. I nowadays find it very, very pleasing when I go to social media and I read the stories that Lee Kenyanjui writes on social media. He writes stories that he's really giving the state of the nation, but in very cryptic messaging. What I'm trying to say is, look at a party like that. Peter Munya has his own party. He's a party leader of PNU, right? Martha Karua has NAK Kenya, right? within the mountain, we have Kina Wangoko who have also their parties. We have like their MP who has his own
Jury
party.
with the TSP.
What I'm trying to say is, the day that Mount Kenya party leaders decide to give one of them as a presidential threat to this regime will not be.
Fred,
because I can tell you Peter Muli
I
is
want
not
to
somebody
hear
that
your
you're going to
views
joke
about
around
that.
with.
That the traditional opposition could shift now with the exit of Raila Odinga and could actually prop up from elsewhere.
Fred, I'm really disappointed as a young person. Extremely disappointed. For the very fact that tribalism has been one of our biggest challenges as a country. And it has been pushed by yani wazee wa hii inchi. But the disease is finding place in the hearts and the minds.
The youth perspective,
and
yes.
It is very disheartening. What he's trying to tell us is that because the bulk of Mount Kenya and Rift Valley and part of smaller chunks of the country voted for President William Ruto, then it is those people from those regions that are supposed to occupy government positions. That I love words.
But the government actually now has how many percentage
allow
of
you
the
to finish. I'll give you an
to
opportunity.
describe that actually. And even you look at the constitution of the UDA as a party, the focus has been building a national party that brings everyone on board. Look at the ODM of 2007 and the whole Pentagon. That was the vision of Raila Odinga. Right now, that vision is in the head of William Ruto. I want to persuade young people. It is not about where you come from.
It is about where you come from. In your regime.
The idea must be putting Kenya first. And look at the people William Ruto has brought on board in the management of this country. You go to Western Kenya, there are people there. Mount Kenya alone, I do not want to mention even figures from those regions. We have people serving this nation across the republic, people who would never had an opportunity to sit on the decision-making table. If the ethnicity and where they come from...
Are you trying to defend William Ruto on giving Kalenjins
would be the reason. Besides that, Kalenjins are in this government.
It's the biggest percentage.
Kikuyus are in this government.
Okay. No,
Fred,
Let me just finish.
Let me just allow Kamau to comment on this issue about the DNA of the opposition as we've come to know it, coming mainly from the ODM strongholds of Nyanza and Western Kenya. Now with the shift of Raila Odinga to the AU job, if it happens, that this opposition could come from another region and could have a different effect come 2027.
And that's why I said, I'd love to, not defend her per se. He shifted, he looked it as a dimension of being tribalism.
And that is it.
Let me, I've let you, okay? I've let you. Mount Kenya alone has a population of 5 to 7 million people, all right? It has a high stake in any say, in any decision-making of this government, of the government of Kenya, in any election. What she was trying to say, the Mount Kenya people have been sidelined, have been played, and they don't like being played. And they don't complain. They are not stupid. What they do, they keep quiet. There's a time, if I lend you money and then you don't pay back, you'll need me again. I'll not give you that money. That is Mount Kenya. You get? That is what she was alluring to. And she was also alluring to and urging. Maybe what she was, she's very bitter as a young Kenyan and a young Mount Kenya person who was played. You get?
What she was in Azimio?
Let me
our time is almost up, and I give each one of you an opportunity.
Let me finish. Let me finish, Fred. What she is alluring to, let the Mount Kenya leaders come together. And if they come together, they will bring out a very strong...
I'm looking at it more not as a direct result of what is happening, but not something to be engineered now going forward, but as a direct result of the actions that are happening politically. The fact that Raila Odinga is considering a job out of Kenya. His exit, could it naturally give rise to a fresh new candidate?
Absolutely.
It's going to give.
Absolutely. And I think earlier this week, we saw Kalonzo Musyoka and Eugene Wamalwa. They were in Embu.
And you refuse them to address.
and parts of Mount Kenya. Ordinarily, there is never a vacuum in politics. Even in your home, when a father dies, automatically someone rises up to do what? To occupy that position. But the big question is, and actually you've picked it, will it tilt traditional voting blocks of Raila probably to William Ruto or to would be other candidates that will come in force? With a specific example, for instance, Kalonzo Musyoka. Western Kenya, save for Bungoma, which in 2022 voted overwhelmingly for William Ruto, even regions like Kakamega, we have seen the president is eating into those regions progressively. Even Nyanza, just to mention, last year in December, UDA registered more than 40,000 new UDA members in Siaya County alone. It means that our politics are changing progressively. And the exit of Raila automatically, it changes everything. How will that affect 2022 politics, 2027 politics? It will be a walkover for President William Ruto.
Because of time, I'll give each one of you about a minute and a half.
Okay.
But even as you make your final comments, because we have an editorial comment, and it has to do with the kind of jitters and the kind of behavior we are seeing around the presidency, especially in his tours of Mount Kenya region, the kind of reaction, the kind of heckling, jeering, and booing, especially in the presence of the president. And I'd want you to make your comment on that as you make your final remarks.
Okay, thank you so much. As I conclude, I want to say that 2027 presidential elections, politics aside, the Kenyan Wanjiko, the Kenyan voter, is going to check if this regime has done its job. And of course, by now, politically, they might be performing in their eyes, but government-wise and as a government, they are not performing. That is going to bring about a lot of revolution within the voter, and regardless of whoever else is going to be in that ballot against William Ruto, they are going to take this. What I'm trying to say is the heckling we are seeing within Mount Kenya, within Meru, Kiambu County, and people are openly heckling the president, is just but the beginning. You have seen parties within Mount Kenya go for their activations kwa ground. Yesterday, SOPNU had an activation of the young people. Within the next 2-3 years, parties within Mount Kenya, call them PNU, NAK Kenya, Jubilee, or the others, they are going to have very serious activations within this country, and they are going to come together, and the heckling in Mount Kenya will not go down. It's going to go higher and higher and higher. And leaders within Mount Kenya, the likes of Kina Peter Munya,
do you think it's appropriate?
It's appropriate because if you are not working, am I supposed to clap for you?
Okay.
I'm supposed to bring you to my attention and tell you, hey, you're not working. Okay. So as we exit this discussion, I simply want to tell my friend, when you go back to government, tell them nikubaya, and things are not going to get better. Okay. If they don't change, the likes of Kinamunya, the likes of people from the eastern, the likes of people from the western,
okay. And some of this heckling is not really directed at the president himself, but other politicians just trying their own supremacy wars in the presence of the president. Your final comments, Kamal.
My final comments will be, one, to the president and his administration. The young people of this country are looking up to you. We have a Generation X, Y, and Z. And this new generation of Generation Y and Z, these people are looking up to you, big time. The decisions you make today, these people will judge you. You know, Moi was here for 24 years. Yep. And to date, we know the impacts he made in this country. I want to plead with the president, tafadhali. Stop lying Kenyans. Stop playing with the lives of young people. Stop playing with the education of young people. You know, what do you call it? CBC. Back and forth, back and forth. Kids are they are totally confused. You know, have a plan. This guy, he never had a plan. I always say that. Okay. Please sit down, have a plan for this country. It's not about you. It's not about what you do. It's about the country. Professor Saitoti said there comes a time when a nation is more important than an individual. Going forward with the politics of this country, I wish Raila all the best in his bid for AU chair. And I want to plead with the other leaders, young leaders and the leaders who are in government. Let's follow the footsteps of that man, BAMBA, and bring sanity in the politics of this country.
Finally, Yusuf.
I would want to start with politics. Mount Kenya is a new DA party. Looking at the leadership.
We won't.
Looking at leadership, project-wise, and even the president was there yesterday, and I was just looking at the number of projects he launched in Mount Kenya. That is launched, commissioning, ongoing projects.
It's relaunching. Don't go into relaunching. Don't go.
Let's allow him his time.
It's
a final comment.
He's lying to Kenyans.
It's a final comment.
Fred, we cannot sit here and he's lying.
That is
okay.
So Mount Kenya is a new DA party. You know, sometimes I hear Azimio talk and I wonder. 2022. These people kept telling us that BAMBA is climbing the mountain. In the real sense, there was no mountain that was being climbed, you know. So, on the issue of young people, politics aside, I would want to share your sentiments that young people must come and sit on the table of political decision in this country. And the only way you can do that is to join a political party. Parties are the tables or the platforms to which you can advocate, express your desires, and also seek opportunities. UDA currently is the biggest party in the Republic and the region. We welcome you to the party. Dial *509#. It will give you an opportunity, a party that supports young people. Even look at us. We are holding senior positions in the party, but we are young people, right? So join a political party. If it is, I don't know whichever party it will be, but as young people,
Mount Kenya party
join political parties.
Okay.
Finally, on the issue,
come with a party of young people.
On the issue,
we don't have time to start
on the issue of the economy, things have started showing great potential. I want to urge Kenyans, let us be hopeful. Fuel will continue going down. We are seeing now a trend, 5 shillings. Yesterday it was 1 shilling. We're expecting next month will be 5 or 10. Unga is going down. Edible oil is going down. The country is stabilizing step by step. Okay. I wish we got time to canvass affordable housing, and I think you had mentioned it.
Unfortunately, we
for you to tax again Kenyans.
But I just want to assure the country that the president is in charge. Things will keep showing up well. Let us be hopeful. We cannot be a nation that is pessimistic and so on. We have a great nation. Let us support each other, and I am certain William Ruto will deliver on his mandate this first term and even the second term.
Thank you very much, Yusuf
William
Omete, Head of Digital Communications, UDA Party, Kamau Wambiu, Kiambu Youth Focus, and Jerry Kahiga, National Youth Representative. Our panelists this morning, as we looked at the state of the nation and being a Friday, the youth perspective. Thank you so much for making time to come to T47. Straight to editorial comment, and it is a rather controversial one, but one that we have to make nonetheless. It's about the growing trend of political intolerance, chaos, and indiscipline, where politicians are jeered and booed in the presence of the President of the Republic. It is rather curious, but also worrying. For many of the President's critics, this may be a time to score political points. However, this behavior calls for a serious reflection of the erosion of respect for the highest office in the land. Recent incidents in Meru and recently in Kiambu, marred by jeering, booing, and unruly behavior at the public rallies attended by the President, highlight a distressing pattern of disrespect and disregard for the dignity of the presidency. It is essential to recognize that the President represents more than just a political figure. He embodies the unity and sovereignty of the nation. Don't get me wrong. We do not need to agree with or to have voted for the President for us to respect him. It is demanded of us by the Constitution. As a head of state and government, the President symbolizes the aspirations and values of the Kenyan people. Therefore, regardless of political affiliations or personal opinions, the office of the presidency demands reverence and deference from all citizens. The conduct witnessed, particularly among politicians trying to catch the President's eye by outdoing and outshouting each other through their supporters, undermines the institutions and principles upon which the nation is built. Patriotism entails honoring and upholding the integrity of these institutions, foremost